Hello again everyone, welcome to Overhead Recipes. This is an unusual video covering the Bosch SKS26E22EU Dishwasher. That is a countertop model. This is not the usual video that we usually have in this channel, but I don't know where else to put it, so here we go. This is a countertop model, as you probably know, and this is essentially a great option for those who don't have a dishwasher planned when they build their kitchen. This is a pretty straightforward model, and it has a very clean interface. On the left, you can see this power button, pretty straightforward, and then you got this mode button with 6 different cleaning modes, ranging from heavy duty all the way to gentle cycles, as well as quick wash. And here you have the rinse mode. Right next to it is an extremely simple LCD screen, which is great. LCD or LED screen that you can see very basic indicators. There's only 3 vertical indicators and then hour and minute on top. And all the way to the right, you have some basic button controls as well. As you can see right now, the light is blinking, indicating how long the wash cycle will be, and then if there's any error, it will show up on the side. Here you have 3 different buttons. You got the hour timer, and then you got this additional heating, and then also a speed perfect accelerator button thing. Again, this is the mode. If you leave it here on the 70 degree, this is really meant for really caked on stuff. The auto allows the unit to determine how much or how little heat and water to use. Eco mode is, supposed to be eco, but it takes 4 hours for a wash. You got the delicates, and then you got the quick wash, and finally you got the rinse mode, which is good for just disinfecting and general rinsing, kind of like with baby bottles and such. Most of the time, leave it in auto. Here is the back, extremely simple. All the way in the left, you see the power switch. In the middle is the water inlet with the leak sensor and a drainage pipe on the right. Piping is extremely easy as well. Just go straight to the mains and the drain. You open it up and you see a glossy surface with this soap loader and this rinse agent container. You fill it up all the way to that part. I'll show you more in a while. This is the tray, and this is the main compartment where you put everything. The top part is great for small cups and espresso glasses and spatulas and things like that. It's roughly around 4 to 5 inches high. In the side, you get this vertical slats, which are good for very thin boards and as well as smaller items that need vertical holding. In the middle part, this is like the main compartment. This is where you put the pots and anything large. This is roughly around 8 inches in diameter. And that's a good part and a good place to put your salad bowls and things like that. And in the front, that's where you put your water, your drink and cup holders. This is slanted so that anything that it gets sit on top of the cups will get drained off easily. At the back, you got your dishes. Very standard, but they are relatively narrow. They're probably just like half an inch gap in between. You can put more dishes on the right. I think you can put 10 on the right and 7 on the left. So again, these slats are angled upwards, but towards the center. And then there's a V part in the middle where you can put things that needs a little bit of extension in. I'll show you some examples later. The tray itself is made of metal, obviously, and you can just roll it out very smoothly in those wheels, tilt a little bit up, and the whole thing pops off, right? The main reason why this pops off is extremely simple. It allows you to access the main components of the dishwasher for cleaning, most of the time for cleaning. So in the middle, you got this main filter section. It has this screen for the larger particles and then the ones in the middle for the finer ones. This is your main wash arm. That's where the jets spray out. And then this is the hard water salt container thing. I'll talk about it a little bit more later, but you just pop it off and pour the salt in. Please do not use kitchen salt. I'll talk about it more later in this video. Again, this is the arm that you can pop off relatively easy as well. Not a lot of effort. It just pops up. It's good that there's no O-rings and things like that to mess up. Yeah, it just pops back in pretty straightforward. This is the filter that you're supposed to clean once in a while, and I'll show you how to dismantle this a little later on. But in general, that's where everything goes, and water drains off from this area primarily. So you have to keep this one clean and keep that part as unobstructed as possible. To put it back, this arrow has to be around the 7 o'clock position. It will sit pretty straightly and it will snap on pretty tightly after you close it. Let's talk about some usage tips. Primarily unloading and washing. Is this acceptable to put inside? Honestly, it will work, but it's best if you scrape off most of the stuff beforehand. You don't need to wash it, just scrape it off. It just reduces a lot of the gunk that will get stuck in your filter. And in terms of loading, in a nutshell, you can load it whatever way it fits, right? The only thing that matters is you don't want it to overlap too much. Ideally, you want things to be slightly angled, such as this bowls, so that that circle part in the middle of the bowl can drain off as well. Otherwise, it will pool there. This machine has a little bit of an issue with the tight gaps of the plate section. It works well for relatively flat plates, but a lot harder for other things. So it takes a little bit of practice or familiarity of what you should put where, right? There's a big gap in the back part, so you have to be careful that things don't fall off there, because it can block the washer arm, such as these Tupperware covers. So again, depending on what you load, I don't want to give a hard rule. As long as there's like minimal overlap vertically in terms of how the water will set contact, you're good. You want to make sure that jet from the washer arm can spray water upwards, right? And then it will have an ability for it to fall downwards as well. So this thing needs to be able to rotate freely, and this is an example when it won't. When you got arms and forks and things like that go to the bottom, it will block this arm and none of your stuff will be washed, guaranteed, as Charles Barkley would say. So make sure nothing is protruding down, everything's horizontal as much as you can, and you should be good to go. It shouldn't be a problem, right? So again, how you load it, it's up to you. As long as things are not like stacked on top of each other, it's fine. Let's talk about rinse aid. Is this absolutely necessary at all, or is it just a waste of money? Yes, you have to use rinse aid if you don't want your dishes to have streaks, stains, or damp coming out. You fill this up to the line, it will last you around 15 washers or so. So one bottle like this will probably last you probably around a month, I guess, depending on how often you use it. But just use it. It helps your dishes to come out squeaky clean, dry, and it just makes the whole wash a lot more efficient. For soap, I'm using Finish. Are these pods? Yeah, these are pods. I'm not using the tablet things. So ideally, these are extremely convenient, but I would suggest that try to use powders, because you can measure stuff, and as well as you use the right amount. Sometimes these pods tend to lean towards the aggressive side in terms of quantity, and they also cost a little bit more than powder. Make sure when you load things, nothing is blocking the soap receptacle, otherwise the soap will not pop out. When the wash cycle finally starts, this thing is not going to pop out. This will only pop out like 10 minutes into the wash. If something is blocking, your dishes are not going to wash. Make sure that is clear. So let's wash this. Come back in 2 hours. I'll show you what happens. Again, this kind of load, auto mode is the right way to go. It'll last you around 2 hours. And you can see the timer on the right. You can press it and you can delay the start cycle for up to 24 hours later. So basically a day later. I don't really know why you would want to do that, but you can. But yeah, just if you need it, it's there. Press the start button and it will start. And it'll be very, very quiet. So let's see what happens after a couple of hours. Boom, magic. 2 hours. Let's take a look at how our dishes look like. All right, so we slide it off, and you can take a look at this roster of different things that we wash. We got the plastic Tupperware, everything clean. You know the annoying orange stains for spaghetti sauce and Tupperware? This will take that out relatively easily. The bowls and stuff, ceramics, not a single problem. You can see how bone dry they look. Even with the dishes, for example, they come out great. Sorry, let me take out the stuff first. See, extremely glossy, dry, squeaky, and they just feel like fresh laundry out of a dryer. So they're just like warm and everything and dry, and you can just put them straight into your cupboards if you need to. But what I love are these clear glass because of the rinse aid and the efficiency of the. Oh yeah, in terms of the spatula, take a look. You know, all that stuck on fried rice and egg stuff, all clean without scrubbing at all. So let your dishwasher do its job. Take a look at these clear glasses. Again, these are double wall Bodum glasses. You can see they're streak free. They're absolutely clean, absolutely dry. Even with these Ridge IKEA glasses, you can see they work absolutely fine. I love this. For utensils, so you got this little caddy thing, right? So each of those caddy have those little slots, and you just dump your utensils in, and they clean really, really well. And you probably know, if you eat a lot of things that get stuck in between the fork spokes, a dishwasher is a godsend. This caddy allows you to bring it all the way to your cupboard and just, unload it as you go. Here's another scenario: pots and pans. So this is a bit of a challenge for a single layer countertop compared to a full-sized dishwasher, because you don't have multiple layers. With the full-size one, it's relatively simple. You just put everything in the bottom rack. With this type of single rack, you have to be a little more tactical. Be careful of the things falling. Because if once you have a big piece of item there, it makes it a lot more challenging to plan. These small Tupperware covers can fall into that slot as well. We mentioned earlier about the washer arm, how crucial it is that this thing is free. Before every wash, give that a flick. If it spins around, you're good to go. So again, let's take a look at loading this pot and pan. This pan is this is a huge pan, and you can see we got some glazed caramelized onion and burnt stuff there, without any scrubbing, without any pre-wash, without any soak. I'm just going to dump it in. And in general, my advice is you put big pots and pans in first before you put smaller ones. As you can see, if you put the pans last, you have no idea how it will go, right? So in general, you need to make sure of certain things. One, make sure that you do not have protrusions at the back that prevents the door from closing. Like in this case, the door is not closed. Because this door doesn't have a lock and it does not give you a warning, in this case, the pan handle is actually stopping the door from closing. If you could take a look, if I put the camera back, the handle is protruding. So you need to make sure that is inside that cage, so to speak. The back and the front, make sure everything is inside, right? After you put the pots and pan in, then you arrange the smaller things, then you're good to go. The whole thing will snap shut and your wash cycle will begin, right? So let's give this a start. Again, just for this exercise, I'm putting it on normal mode. I'm not putting it in the high heat mode, which I don't think is necessary. So I'm not going to bore you with the finished product here for the plates and Tupperware because you've seen it previously. What I want to show you in this segment is the pan itself, whether all that dried up, burnt stuff was cleaned off without any pre-soak, without any pre-scrub, etc. on a stainless steel pan. Again, use a stainless steel pan. Don't put cast iron and stuff. So let's take a look at the pan. You remember how dirty it was earlier? Boom. Everything is perfectly clean, shiny, grease-free. But the vertical surfaces can be an issue, like you see here. because of the size of this and the angle, and I did not use the 70-degree one, this can happen sometimes. So just get a steel scrubber and do it. Give it a quick scrub, the vertical parts, before dumping it in, and you're good to go. Large items will always be a bit of a challenge, and it depends on what you have. Try to figure out how best to put your large items while still be able to use other items. First warning is protrusions, as I mentioned earlier. So in this case, putting the pan at the back is not an option. Diagonal is the most obvious choice, but you can see the problem. I end up not being able to use a lot of the surfaces, right? If I put it diagonal in the front, the same thing. Practically all the plates cannot be washed anymore. So I need to find a good way to put it. I can go this way, but I always find the handle to be hit and miss in terms of placement. So in general, I like to put my pan either at an angle, or if I have the space, I put this in the left quadrant of the dishwasher like this, so that, as you can see, I can still use a lot of the plate section in the upper right, and I still have a lot of space as well on the upper left for the utensil caddy, and I can still have space on the right side for my cups and smaller items, and the top layer is also available. You can also consider putting the pan diagonally this way, especially if there are no burnt and caked on stuff. It's something worth doing because you have a lot more space. If you're using the 70-degree, this is actually a good option as well, especially if you give the vertical side a pre-scrub, not a pre-wash. Just scrub it off with a steel wool, and you should be good to go. You'll be able to use a lot of the space in that arrangement fashion. So try to figure out how it works for you. Here are some common problems that is not documented in the manual, and I haven't seen any articles about it. First, about the utensil caddy. You can see that on the right, you have 9 slots for spoon and forks, same with the left, and then another 16 smaller slots in the middle. And it works very, very well, right? You can see that it arranges like a flower pattern, and the water will be able to spray around the front and the back really perfectly, no problems at all. But there might be times where you might be having a big group and you used up a lot more than the allotted slots that you see. Maybe you use more than 9 forks and 9 plates. 9 forks and 9 spoons, and you choose to just dump everything in like that. You can see what the problem is. Spooning happens. This is where the term spooning comes in, where the front and the back of the spoons stack up to each other perfectly, and there's no way for the water to flow in and out. That will cause your utensils to not be able to be clean. If you really must do this like this. Up and down, head to toe, head to toe. This reduces the odds of your spoon and forks spooning each other. There may still be occasions that it will, but the odds are severely reduced, right? Like I need to explicitly put the spooning positions together for that to happen. So if you really must, do it that way. Next thing, we talk about knives. In this case, I have a steak knife with a wooden handle, which is pretty common. Wood is no good in the dishwasher. It can crack, it can split. But the main thing with knives is really safety. Obviously, don't be an idiot to put knives facing up. Don't put it in parts where your hand can get cut. You might not be the person taking out the dishes from the machine. So you have to make sure safety is paramount. Make sure you don't put the knives close to the caddy handle as well. As you can see, if you pull the handle out, your odds of touching the blade is relatively high. So if you must put knives, put it at the far side facing away from the handle. And again, just be extra careful when it comes to knives so you don't cut yourself. Nobody wants that. Big knives, kitchen knives, cleavers, etc. Common sense. Please don't put it like that. Don't put it. Not only will it damage your dishwasher, it will also damage your fingers. Also, knives generally do not like the dishwashing detergent, and the heat also affects the sharpness of the knife. So just hand wash this. Please don't dump it in your dishwasher. Next things are pots and pans. Most pots and pans will tell you it's dishwasher safe, but unless it's a stainless steel pan like I showed you earlier, these things will eventually chip. It will just be safer for you not to use it. If it's really caked on and you don't want to scrub, go ahead, do it once in a while, but just don't put it in every single wash. Steel wool. This is the one that I use to scrub the steel pan that I mentioned. These go great in the dishwasher. You see those little food particles that get stuck? It will take forever for you to get rid of it if you just try to rinse it under the sink. Dishwasher cleans that perfectly, and just dump it and swap it every week or so. Salt. Do not use kitchen salt. There is very specific dishwashing water softener salts available. I think this is mostly a Europe thing, and we have it here in Asia as well. So yeah, you just pour it up there. The timing and the volume of the salt pretty much coincides with the rinsing aid. And if you're running out, you will see a light here in the letter S. Just think of S as salt, rinsing aid with the gleaming thing. They last roughly about the same time. Again, we don't really need it, but it helps. Soap container. You see there's 15 and 25. That's the reason why I prefer detergent powders rather than capsules. I can choose between 15 or 25 grams. Most washes only use 15. The only time you really use, so for anything from auto all the way to the other modes, 15 grams of soap is more than enough. If you need to wash on a heavy load in the high heat mode, then go ahead, use 25. But in general, 15 is fine. The other benefit of the powder, I can put some extra powder for the pre-rinse, meaning before the main soap receptacle opens, you pour some here. It will use that during the pre-rinse to make the grime come off easier. That's one benefit of powder, and it's cheaper. Last part, we talk about cleaning. All these jets, all these stuff will get gunked sooner or later. These little holes, this big hole at the back, use a toothpick, use a foam sponge, and just give it a little wipe and you're good to go. The main thing is this main screen door. The silver part filters out the big pieces, and then these little, this inner filter filters out the smaller gunks. You can see this is from a week use of, we were cooking a lot of like stuff with a lot of little particles. So cleaning this is really, really easy. The plastic that they use washes relatively easy. Get some soapy water. It doesn't need to be a lot. Give it a light wipe. Sorry for the clumsiness. I'm using one hand to hold the camera or the phone, the other hand to wash. So again, just give it a light wipe. You don't need to scrub the filter itself. As long as you get most of the gunk out, most of the smell out, the grease out, normal dishwashing stuff, you're good to go. Give it a good rinse, and then just pop it back in. This filter goes in either way. You don't have to worry about putting it wrong. It literally just goes in one way. So just give the whole filter a rinse. Make sure there's no gunk there. Pop it back in. Literally just snap it down, and you're good to go. Do this about once a week. Whether it visibly shows or not, just do it once a week and just make your life a lot easier. It takes you less than 2 minutes. Pop it back in, snap it back, you're good to go. Last but not least, I'm not so sure if it's because my countertop is not level, but the front part tends to accumulate stains. Whether from fruits and sauces and stuff. The back is perfectly fine. It's the front. You get some grease stains, some food stains, etc. Also in the top of the dishwasher door, because that's where your plates and your utensils tend to hit it. So after a wash or so, more or less, I do it every couple of days. We use our machine twice a day or so. But in general, either do it every single time or at least do it once a week. Whenever you wash the filter, give this part a clean. Give the O-ring seals around the door, a gentle wipe. That's all you need to do. there are dishwashing cleaning solutions out there as well. You can use that once a month or so as well. Take care of your machine, it will serve you well. And I hope this video is helpful. I know there's not a lot of videos out there. I hope this will be an extremely helpful video for not just Bosch users, but any single layer countertop dishwasher. So I hope you like